Now, it seems that we have Jason Unruhe back with us, political commentator and analyst, joining us live from Ontario. Jason, if you can hear me, I would like to know your views regarding the fact that Iran's Space Research Center has been sanctioned by the U.S. It's a research center that is solely focusing on research. Why would it be sanctioned? How would that be something that falls in line with the U.S. maximum pressure policy on Iran?
Well, I think that there are at least a few angles to this, personally. I think one of them is a retaliation for Iran continuing to take further steps, which they are fully legally allowed to do, according to the agreement, which the United States had already abolished. Uh, I think that there's two primary reasons why. One, the space program is a point of pride for Iran. I believe it was just last year they had launched the only domestic um, satellite in the entire region. Neither of the other powers inside the Middle East had done that as well. So I think it's a point of pride. It's something to attack, to try to undermine the pride or the general public perception of Iran's achievements. I also think that this is a retaliation against Iran for attending that meeting with the French Prime Minister, in which they discussed the actual nuclear agreement itself. From many reports that I have seen from many news agencies, it seemed to have been particularly productive. I think Javad Zarif visiting with Emmanuel Macron was a very positive step in trying to bring some kind of sanity to the table with regards to this whole agreement and the actions of the United States, and that possibly, we don't know exactly what was talked about during that meeting, but I think that it's certainly some compensation measures for the loss of the United States from the JPCOA agreement, possibly some things forthcoming from France, probably some French companies, etc. And I think that the United States is angry at both France and Iran for allowing that meeting to take place and undermining the pressure that the United States has been putting on Iran. And I think that this was a retaliatory measure towards that.
The United States has claimed that the type of research that is being carried out in Iran will allow it to um, develop a missile program. How true is that?
Well, I don't think if this was really the goal, it wouldn't accomplish very much. Theoretically, you could use a space program to test missile technology. You could do that. But Iran already has a separate missile program. It already has, a military means of developing and testing these kinds of weapons. So theoretically, you could, but if it really was the intention of the U.S. to undermine the missile program, then they would have particularly targeted the military in this case. They would have gone after the Revolutionary Guard with sanctions on them, etc. But those pretty much already exist at this point. I don't think there's much the U.S. can actually do to the Revolutionary Guard that they haven't already done. I mean, that would have been far more productive in trying to undermine the missile program. I don't think that that is really the reason why this is going on. I think this is just an excuse. This is along the lines of the claim that Iran is a threat to its neighbors when they haven't threatened anybody or invaded anyone in a very, very long time. I don't know how long, very, very long time. And this is just a way of trying to invoke the image of this is what's in the interest of public safety as a justification for doing this to Iran, when this is simply not true. I mean, targeting the space program isn't, as far as I know how ballistic missile technology works, isn't actually going to undermine that program in any way, shape, or form. I think this is about punishing Iran for meeting France and not actually about trying to create stability in the region.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jason Unruhe, political analyst, joining us live from Ontario.